How did your parents freak you up? My mom insists on guilt trips and emotional martyrdom. My dad is emotionless. The former produces the latter. Comparing me to everyone. Now I do it and have very low self-esteem. When I realized my mom was doing this to me, I asked her how she would feel if I started comparing her to other moms. She seemed to feel what it was like to be in my shoes when I told her that. My mom can't resist gossiping and generally criticizing people, places and things. Pretty much a constant flow of negativity. So guess who, at 25, has to make a concerted effort not to always criticize things? This guy. My mother grew up in communist China. In an effort to make sure my sister and I didn't grow up into spoiled brats who didn't understand the small pleasures in life, we would spend a lot of time with our maternal grandparents, who lived in the Chinese countryside as subsistence farmers. No electricity, no heating, no running water, no paved roads, etc. It worked. I grew up loving the countryside, the farm work, the natural beauty, the tight-knit community, etc. And I am such a penny pincher, my mother actually begs me to spend more money on myself. I've been wearing a jacket with a hole in it for years, because I feel like I can't justify buying a new one when the current one can still be worn. My laptop hasn't had a functioning sound card for a year, but I still use it because I can type my homework and read websites. When I got my license, my parents wanted to buy me a brand new car, which I turned down, and so on. Basically they made me a Scrooge. Man, my parents are just like this. You have to realize that you're saving your money up for literally nothing. I like to call this behavior dragoning. Never let me play video games as a child. Now I'm in engineering school and I'm useless at Super Smash Bros. Over 30 million children in the US never learned how to Wava Dash. Donate today and bring these children out of a scrublord environment into a pro home. By not splitting up when their marriage had gone to crap, staying together for the kids rarely helps. A lot of times the kids might actually prefer their parents' divorce. When two married people are clearly unhappy, it seeps into everything and makes home life difficult. My parents deliberately taught me the barnyard animals wrong when I was a toddler. They swapped ponies and cows, chickens and pigs, goats and sheep, and others. I was very confused when I got that toy that spins the arrow to an animal and makes the animal noise. I would say, "Mommy, the cow doesn't say moo." I still occasionally hesitate with goats and sheep. If you were praised for being smart as a child and now feel crippling sensations of guilt and inadequacy when you don't immediately understand or know how to do something, clap your hands. Clap clap. I respect my parents more than anyone in my life, and they've earned that respect as far as I'm concerned. But those same decisions that made it that way took a serious toll on my mental health since I was about 8. My dad died on 9/11/01, in the exact way you'd think based on the date. He was a newly promoted FDNY captain, and as such he was moving around a lot between firehouses, and I'd get to know all the guys. My whole life I had been to the firehouse for every holiday. I'd barbecue with the guys and I even tapped a keg for the Christmas party in 2000. Well, when 9/11 happened, I don't want to give away any identifying information, but our firehouse was hit really hard. As a kid who has been meeting his dad's friends his whole life up to age 8, and one day 3/4 of them are dead, your dad's dead, and your entire family is shaken up, telling you to turn off the TV and your grandma whispers he might hear something. Obviously I don't blame my parents for 9/11. I don't blame my dad for being a fireman, or his dad for passing on the tradition. I don't blame him for being at work that day, or for going in, but there will always be a weird line of questioning in my life that goes something like, what did he think about when he went in? Did he think about us? Was my dad suicidal? When you're in the middle of a national tragedy at a young age, it's a scar on your life. That wasn't helped by the fact that this was simultaneously a family death, a work incident, an act of war, a homicide, and a national tragedy with a hint of suicide. I've met a lot of people who were my age when it happened. 21 now, isn't that kind of weird? And they all turn into old souls when it's brought up. Some people get weird at the thought of going to a funeral or wake. but we've all been to dozens of services, mostly memorials. I know I've personally been to about 100, and it never stops. No one will ever forget to wish me a spiritual day or whatever. Basically the whole thing gave me a really screwed up view on life and death, coupled with the fact that I was going to the funerals of my dad's friends, and of my friends' dads more often than any 8-year-old should be. Sometimes I wonder if he just ran away and used the whole thing as a way to get out. At this point he's more a collection of stories and loose memories that might have never happened, so I can never rule this out, though it seems unlikely. I'm told I look just like him, but I wouldn't recognize him at this point. By repeated, ongoing sexual abuse. After my dad got caught with my sister, he waited for things to cool off and then moved on to me. They did their best, but as the old saying goes, you don't get a choice in fricking up your kids. You just get a choice in how you frick them up. I was basically avoidant until I got married, and even now it's still more comfortable for me to deal with my own crap than bring someone else into it. My dad got a dog when I was 8 as a way to sink his claws into my brother and me. My parents were divorced and he knew we didn't want to visit him on account of the drug use and violent mood swings. I can't tell you how many times he called us to tell us he was going to have our dog put down, have my stepdad adopt us, and move to Florida where we would never see him again, just to make us cry. He beat our dog, constantly, not because he didn't do anything wrong, but because he could. The dog was my everything. When I was too scared to sleep, he laid with me and comforted me. He was more understanding, caring, and empathetic than any person I've ever met. I always tried my best to protect him even though I was too little. On Sunday my dad called me to tell me my dog wasn't doing so well. Something told me that out of the countless times he had called to tell me my dog was dying just to make me upset, that he was telling the truth. Immediately I called out of work, booked a train ticket, and went home. What I found was an emaciated, half-dead pit bull lying on the living room floor wearing a freaking diaper. He was so weak he couldn't hold his own head up and his nostrils had crusted over. He hadn't eaten or drank water in days. Right then and there I made an appointment at the vet and didn't give my dad a choice. He had tortured me and this dog for over 17 years, but now I'm calling the shots. When you love someone, you let them go. You don't let them suffer and die in pain. You let them go with what little dignity they have left. I will never be the same because of what I saw on that living room floor, and I will never forget the sounds of his last breaths. Not being able to communicate properly and threatening suicide since I was 6. As a result, I'm reluctant to let women into my life for fear that they're as unstable as my mother, or they will meet my mother and think that I'm as insane as she is. Yeah, I don't think you and a girl I liked at the time would work out very well. I always figured you'd want to be with someone more like your mom, a family friend. Number. Noppity nope nope nope. Heck no. Number. My dad was a vocal opponent to a rising dictator and we had to flee the country. How can I turn a blind eye to any injustice I see when I have to live up to my father's shadow? I thank him every day for giving me a high target to hit. My parents never made me do anything, so I did nothing. They're Catholic. I had a pop-up-ish book as a kid called The Jolly Postman, in which a mailman delivers letters to a bunch of people, and each of the people on his route got an actual physical letter that you could take out of an envelope and read. One of them was a witch. Unbeknownst to me, my parents removed the letter to the witch and replaced it with their own handwritten letter from Jesus, and a prayer card, asking the witch to change her ways and follow him. Long story short, the first time I got a boner I thought that was God's punishment for thinking about naked people. Never taught me anything about finances, wouldn't even talk about it in front of me. Now I'm saddled with crazy student loan debt and I just get dumbfounded at my bills. I know it was just their way of keeping me from worrying, which I did way too much as a kid anyway, but now I have no idea what makes for normal finances. Also, my dad committed suicide the summer I turned 20, so I was pretty self-destructive for a while. They playfully made fun of me a lot. I didn't like it though. It made me insecure, even though I'm a skinny and okay looking person. Same here, especially about music. When I got the guts as an adult to pursue it, it turned out that I'm actually a pretty decent singer. Despite having had gigs and the like, I'm still nervous practicing at home because I half expect someone to start asking me what I'm doing to that cat. They should have let me do more things on my own. I wasn't able to cook breakfast until I was 13 and I'm afraid, at 18, to call for a doctor's appointment. They should also have made me watch less TV. Sure, I would have hated them, but I'm thinking acting like the people I saw on TV made me terribly anxious. I don't blame them, though, for this. I was an immature kid who should have left that fantasy world sooner. Also, they made fun of me for being sad because my crush wasn't interested in me. My dad yelled a lot, loud scary yelling, so now I'm afraid of being in trouble, I guess. Now I hide from my problems a lot more than I should because I don't want to get yelled at. I get that. Spilling a drink was a huge deal. Getting an A in class not so much. So I learned to hide and lie about anything bad and didn't really try to do good because there really wasn't any difference. I was rarely rewarded but frequently chastised. My mom was an alcoholic and my dad was a financially manipulative, verbally and emotionally abusive maniac with physical tendencies. I had a great childhood. They don't understand me and they never tried to. They never gave me the love or encouragement parents are known for. And worst of all, they brought me up teaching me that girls can't do what boys can. My father constantly told me I was fat as a teen. I wasn't. Also, his favorite phrase was "that's not good enough." If I forgot something, didn't ace a test, screwed up a note playing an instrument, didn't eat all my dinner, that's not good enough. I still have body image issues and struggle with perfectionism. My parents split when I was 5, moved across the country. My mother remarried to a guy with kids, grew up in a small house with 6 brothers, received no hugs, only criticism because I was her oldest. Only interaction I've ever had with women has been romantic interest, so I can't make friends with women probably due to both of those reasons. Even though I'm a confident, charismatic, and extroverted person, I feel like there's a part to women I'm missing and just generally feel lost and hopeless. In so many ways, I was born and raised in an extremely Christian environment, attended church every Sunday, was present at youth groups and conferences, was there for lunches that the church sometimes held after services, attended VBS for many years and even helped out with many of them when I got older. You get the idea. Very devout Christian family. Everything was okay until I became a teenager and when my mother became the children's pastor at our current church. She caused a lot of turmoil in a toxic relationship that I had, which I had no clue was toxic and was the only person I had at the time. Became angry when she found out I was bi-curious at one point, and refused to get me professional help even though I told her I was depressed for a year and was suicidal and sought after self-harm to seek relief from the pain I was enduring. It took me telling a teacher that I was going to overdose one night and having said teacher escort me to the hospital to get my mother to allow me to get antidepressants, which I'm still on today. I have not seen a counselor or therapist for my problems even though I've brought it up. Because if I go it will just explode into another fight. I've tried so many times to be real about my feelings to her, only to be shut down by blunt replies or ones that are not supportive in the slightest. She frequently tells me that my only friends, which are online ones due to my social anxiety, don't actually care about me. She constantly criticizes me for almost anything, and about 2 months ago found out I was agnostic atheist, and nearly kicked me out of the house when I had no job or source of income. About 2 to 3 weeks ago, she told me to take a plastic bag and tie it over my head, and said she was taking my brother to see someone for his depression. But yet she never gave me that opportunity. I legitimately hate my parents, more specifically, my mother. I just wish she could have accepted me and taken me as I am. But instead she has to live with an angry and resentful daughter who will want nothing to do with her mother once she moves out. Please, any parents reading this, I know you may not agree with some things your children do, believe in, or will possibly become. But please, they need to know you're there for them and that you love them just the same, no matter what happens. The best thing to do, in my eyes, is offer your full support to them, letting them know you're there and behind them, 100%, even if they may shrug you off sometimes. Also, as a side note, if your child admits to something being wrong, don't shrug it off and tell them to pray about it. If they're suicidal, Don't tell them to just do it then. If your child feels endangered of harming themselves in any way, please get them professional help immediately. Thank you. I pretend the first 10 years of my life never happened. Put me on Adderall and Ritalin when I was 5'10". That alone fricked me up pretty bad. Stepdad locked me in the basement with no light and no way out and strapped me to a chair for hours on end when I did things he didn't approve of. He also arped my sister and caused me and her to be split up into separate homes. That left me all alone with him, my mom and his evil children. I had guns pointed at me, been shot with more BBS than I can remember and still have one stuck in my face an inch below my eye. Once for a little over a month, I was forced to sleep in the basement because all the other problems led me to be a bedwetter and I tried my hardest to stop it, but I literally could not feel myself go when I'm asleep. There was nothing I could do. Eventually my real dad got custody of me and had to wean me off the meds, and finally at age 12 I could develop as a person of my own instead of what my stepdad wanted me to be. I honestly still have no idea why he was so incredibly mean to me. His entire family hated me and my sister and we never found out why. Most of those memories I forget about. Every now and again I'll remember some things and it makes my blood boil, and a few times I've contemplated going there and showing him a thing or two. But I've got my own people to take care of and I couldn't bear them to watch me become someone on his level. The things I'd do to that man if I wasn't so adamant on being good. You know how some people are good and some are bad? People like me struggle to be good because they want to be. We want to set an example that even though you've been through dark times and your natural state and mindset is dark, you can still be a beacon of light. My mom sided with him through all of this. We have no idea why. Me and my sister are actually just now starting to talk to my mother again after she says she wants a divorce from our stepdad. No one that I've met in the past 15 years know about this. There's actually a lot of other things he did that I could list. If this gets enough upvotes, I'll share. Part of me believes that people should know that evil like this exists. By freaking me up, dad would beat the crap out of me for, well, just about anything. Spent most of my days sitting outside waiting for my mom to call the cops. After he arped sister 2 she didn't call. Neither any of the times after the first. After he brought a gun into the house and started threatening us, she didn't call. After countless beatings, countless crimes, and countless nights of tears, she didn't call. Sister 1 called in the end. Cops came. Life in prison plus never allowed to step foot in the country after sentences served. Means 12 years, plus never coming back to the country. The family was more than just broken by this point. Fast forward 2 years, sister 1 goes alcoholic, the other goes into drugs. Mum berates sister 1 about drinking, but tells sister 2 it's okay, it's only a little weed. Sister 1 moves away from here, quits drinking and gets her crap together. Super awesome to have as a sister. BTW, sister 2 still not clean. This was over 17 years ago. She's all kinds of fricked up. Mum spends most of her days pretending like everything was dad's fault, even the more than 17 years that has passed since. Me? Well, I buggered out early, lost my first apartment and spent some time homeless. Got my crap together, went back to school and stopped feeling sorry for myself. Quit smoking weed, etc. Met a super nice girl. She saved me from everything. Currently living in nice townhouse. VP at small scale IT business. Looks like I will be taking over in 5 years time. Working my butt off to one day be able to spoil my girl rotten. It's a really long and really crappy story, and I'm sorry if it's all over the place. I've omitted a lot of details. Sorry, won't go into some things. I still resent my mom for a lot of things she's done, even minus the violence. At least I can be proud that I turned out okay in the end. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.